At 41, Kevin has never earned more than $110,000 a year. No inheritance. No second income. No real estate portfolio. No viral finance strategy. Meanwhile, his former colleague, who pulled $280,000 in base salary for 6 straight years, just asked HR to delay his bonus deposit because his checking account couldn't cover his mortgage until the 30th. Same industry. Same city. Completely different financial realities. This is the story of the one variable that explains everything, and why the higher earner never saw it coming until it was a decade too late. It's 9:14 on a Tuesday morning. You're sitting in the third row of a company town hall that was called with 48 hours notice. The slides on the screen are the kind nobody makes unless something is wrong. Restructuring. Realignment. Words that sound official but mean nothing until the calendar invite shows up with your name on it. Around you, people are doing quiet math in their heads. How long could I actually last without a paycheck? 3 months? Maybe 4? You do the same math. The answer surprises you. Not in a good way. You earn $220,000 a year. You have for 3 years now. Before that, $175,000 for the 2 years before that. You are not careless with money. You are not the person buying bottles at clubs or gambling on weekends. You have a financial advisor you meet with once a year over a nice lunch. He tells you everything looks fine. You believe him. Because the other option means sitting down with your real numbers and having a conversation with yourself that you keep finding reasons to push back. Somewhere between your salary and your actual bank balance, something went quietly and completely wrong. The town hall didn't create the problem. It just finally made you look at it. When the $175,000 offer letter landed, the first feeling wasn't excitement. It was relief. Relief that your outside life could finally match who you had become on the inside. What came next didn't feel like spending. It felt like correcting a long overdue mistake. The apartment came first. $4,200 a month in a building with a concierge, underground parking, and an address that made sense on a business card. Your old place wasn't bad. It was just wrong for where you were now. Everyone around you knew it, including you. Moving felt less like an upgrade and more like finally showing up to the right room. Then the car. A BMW 3 Series lease at $1,140 a month. You work directly with clients. You walk into rooms where first impressions decide whether there's a second meeting. The partner at your firm drives an S-Class. By that measure, a 3 Series was practically modest. The wardrobe came next, but not for fashion reasons. 3 tailored suits. Good shoes that would last years. A watch that said the right things without you having to say anything. Every single piece had a reason attached to it before it was purchased. None of it felt like showing off. It felt like dressing for the job you actually had. Dinners became the main way business got done. $400 for 2, sometimes more. Weekly. Occasionally twice in a week. Time was short and relationships were built across tables, not over emails. Every one of those decisions made complete sense standing alone. The problem is they were never standing alone. They were quietly stacking on top of each other, locking into place, building a life that now costs $220,000 a year just to stay exactly where you are. Nothing saving. Nothing growing. Nothing working while you sleep. You didn't build a lifestyle. You built a floor. And floors, unlike investments, only go up. Here is what $220,000 actually puts in your account. Not the number on the offer letter. The number that lands twice a month and has to cover everything. Filed single in New York City, the tax picture looks like this. Federal income tax takes roughly $47,000. New York State adds another $15,800. New York City collects $9,200 on top of that. FICA, Social Security and Medicare, takes $10,400. Total taxes owed, approximately $82,400. What remains is around $137,600 a year. Divide that by 12 and you get $11,467 a month. $11,000 a month sounds like more than enough. Then the month actually happens. Apartment, $4,200. BMW lease plus insurance, $1,380. Groceries and household supplies, $900. Dining and entertainment, $1,800. Quarterly trips averaged out monthly, $1,100. Clothing, grooming, dry cleaning, $600. Subscriptions, memberships, software, $320. Law school student loan, $1,200. Utilities and phone, $290. Total, $11,790. The take-home is $11,467. The monthly spend is $11,790. Every single month ends $323 further behind than it started. The 401k contribution, $1,917 a month, comes out before any of this, directly from the paycheck. So the retirement checkbox is technically ticked. But outside of that one account, nothing is being built. No brokerage. No investments. No buffer that could survive a real emergency. Here is the number that is hardest to sit with. That $1,800 spent monthly on dining and entertainment alone, invested instead into a basic S&P 500 index fund over 10 years at historical average returns, becomes $346,000. Most people at this income level never run that calculation. The lifestyle sets the budget before the math ever gets a chance to speak. The salary is real. The wealth is theoretical. And theoretical doesn't cover a mortgage when the calendar invite arrives. Kevin works 2 floors down. Different department, same firm. He earns $108,000 a year, which is the kind of number that would make most people at your level quietly grateful they negotiated better. He brings coffee from home every morning in a thermos that looks like it has survived at least 4 winters of daily use. He drives a 2019 Toyota Camry with 74,000 miles on it. He has never once mentioned wanting to replace it. At a firm off-site last spring, over drinks that Kevin had exactly one of before switching to water, he mentioned without any build-up that he had just crossed $580,000 in his brokerage account. Not his 401k. Not the condo he paid off 3 years ago. Just the brokerage account. The one he opens on his phone the way other people check the weather. The table went quiet for about 2 seconds. Then someone changed the subject. Kevin shrugged and ordered the chocolate cake. You thought about it for the rest of the weekend. Here is the math that has not left you alone since. Kevin invested $2,800 a month consistently for 11 years into S&P 500 index funds. Automatic transfers. Never paused during the 2020 crash. Never paused during the rate hike sell-off in 2022. Just kept going. At historical average returns, that produces roughly $596,000. You're outside of retirement investing over the same period, $1,917 into the 401k automatically, and around $300 a month sporadically into a brokerage account you check far too often and fund far too inconsistently. Current brokerage balance, $34,000. Kevin earns $112,000 less than you every year. Kevin has $546,000 more than you in money he can actually access. His income was never the number that mattered. The gap between what came in and what went out was the only number that ever did. He held that gap for 11 years. No audience. No strategy deck. No lifestyle that needed defending at dinner. Kevin's thermos is not a personality quirk. It's a data point. And the data it points to is $500,000. The town hall ends without any names being called. This time. But something has shifted that cannot be shifted back. That Saturday morning, you finally make the appointment you have been canceling with yourself for 2 years. No phone. Every account open at the same time. No rounding up. No skipping the uncomfortable ones. 401k, $89,000. 5 years of maxing it out, helped along by a decent market. Brokerage, $34,000. Inconsistent contributions, too much checking, not enough adding. High-yield savings, $12,400. Checking account average balance, $3,100. The car has 0 equity, it is leased. The apartment builds 0 equity, it is rented. Student loans still outstanding, $61,000. Total net worth, Approximately $77,500. You are 39 years old. You have earned over $200,000 a year for 3 years. 6 figures for 7 years before that. According to the Federal Reserve's 2022 survey of consumer finances, the median net worth for Americans aged 35 to 44 earning above $200,000 is approximately $420,000. You have $77,500. You are not close to the median. You have spent nearly a decade earning at the top of your field and built less wealth than Kevin did on $108,000. The name for what happened is income identity spending. The apartment, the car, the watch, the dinners, none of it was really about comfort. It was proof. Proof the salary was real. Proof the title meant something. Proof to an earlier version of yourself that was still not entirely convinced. Every dollar spent on looking arrived was a dollar that stopped moving. And reassurance, unlike index funds, does not compound. The reset happens without drama or announcement. The BMW lease ends in 4 months and does not get renewed. A 2022 Audi A4, certified pre-owned, financed at $680 a month. That one move frees up $700 every month immediately. The apartment lease ends in 7 months. Same neighborhood, second floor instead of 14th, no concierge, $3,400 a month. Another $800 freed. Dining capped at $900 a month. Not as punishment, just as a decision made in advance instead of in the moment. An automatic transfer of $3,200 goes into an index fund on the first day of every pay period. The money moves before the lifestyle gets a chance to negotiate. The social cost is real and worth naming. The first time a colleague asks about the new car and you say you bought used, the conversation moves on faster than it used to. You feel it. You sit with it. The identity you built over 5 years was expensive, and pulling back from it costs something that no spreadsheet will ever show. You do not perform your way through it. You just let the numbers start moving and trust the process. The net worth isn't fixed. It's just finally pointed somewhere that isn't backward. 3 years later, you are at a farewell dinner for a colleague who took a buyout package and is leaving entirely on his own terms. Kevin is there. You end up at the same end of the table. Somewhere between the appetizers and the main course, you tell him everything. The Saturday morning. Every account open at once. The $77,500. The BMW you did not renew. All of it. He listens without interrupting. He does not look surprised. When you finish, he says, "The number on the offer letter is the most expensive thing that ever happened to most people. Because it tells them they've already arrived." Then he picks up his menu and orders the salmon. That is the whole conversation. It is enough. Here is what that conversation finally made clear. Income and wealth are not the same thing. They are not even close to the same category. Income is the speed at which money comes in. Wealth is what is left after the lifestyle is finished deciding what it needs. You can have a very fast income and almost nothing left. Millions of people do. The financial industry calls them mass affluent, which means the situation is common enough that someone had to give it a name. Kevin earned $108,000 and built $580,000 in money he can access tomorrow. You earned $220,000 and built $77,500 over the same period. The trap was never the tax rate. It was never the cost of living in New York. The trap was the version of yourself you decided that salary required you to show the world. Publicly. Expensively. Renewed every month on a lease agreement. The freedom that comes from closing the gap is not a yacht. It is not a beach retirement at 45. It is sitting in a restructuring town hall and feeling nothing but mild inconvenience. It is walking away from a manager who ruins your Sundays without panicking about the rent. It is saying yes to something that pays less because it actually matters more. That freedom has a price. The price is the gap between what comes in and what goes out, held quietly and consistently, without anyone watching, for long enough that compounding takes over. Kevin never out-earned anyone in that building. He just never confused his salary for his net worth. For most high earners, those are two completely different numbers. And for most of them, only one is growing. The town hall was not the problem. The town hall was just the first morning the math became impossible to reschedule. If that Saturday morning felt familiar, even just a little, that is exactly where we go next. The specific numbers, the specific order, the specific steps to start closing the gap regardless of where you are right now. No confusing terms. No lecture. Just the math and what to actually do with it.